Thanks, Keith. Yeah, I'm Dan here, and of course Snetterton is out in the boonies somewhat, out in the countryside. I should know. My folks live up here, but I can't believe the crowd we've got here. I've never seen a crowd like this at Snetterton. It's a beautiful day, as it has been all weekend, but really, we are really pushing it. It was like this at 9 o'clock this morning, so we're in for a great afternoon, and I hope they're going to enjoy it. I want to start with the top privateer here at the moment. James Ellison's right here on the third row, and a good opportunity. Third in the championship at the moment, and you've out-qualified the two guys ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan for this weekend. We've been running basically a standard bike for the first two meetings, and we've done the first stage of the tune for this weekend. We've done a little bit of work on the head. We've got some proper brakes on it and the swing arm, and the bike's an absolute missile. Like I say, it's the first step, so we're going to basically improve for the next 3 rounds. Do another couple of tunes on the engine, and you know, we should be further up the grid next time.
That's what we like to hear. Best of luck to you. And as I said, top of the privateers. We'll be looking for him to make a podium. And you've heard he's messing with that bike a little bit. And he's got so much experience. A former European champion in Superstock, so he should be up there and he should be beating the privateers. I am delighted to say, look who's back. James Hayden back on the grid. One of the top British riders and world riders, of course. A bit of a one-off ride though, James. You're replacing Stuart Easton. And how long is it since you've actually been on a competitive bike?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of years since I've been on something competitive, but it's nearly 8 months since I've ridden, so it's...
How interestingly put.
Yeah, it's blowing out the cobwebs, but yeah, it's great fun. I mean, I'm just a bit rusty and obviously suffering a little bit of my hand injury, but just enjoying it. The team's great. You know, I'd like to thank everyone at ETI and Ellison and the whole team who've worked hard, and you know, just see how we can go. You
qualified well. What about your hand? Because I know you've got a little bit of a worry with that.
Yeah, I've damaged the ligaments at the back of my hand and where they're attached to the bones, and that is awkward, but you know, there's not much I can do about it, so just try and grin and bear it.
Good to be back.
Yeah, lovely to be back.
Best of luck to James Hayden. Alongside him, youngster Tommy Hill, of course, really doing well at the start of this season. Big high hopes for the factory team at the beginning of the year, but I think you've held your head well, given the fact that they have had problems. Rob and everybody else will be the first to admit it, but you're just keeping your head down.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you just got, when it comes to the race, just get your head down and get on with the job, really. That's what I've done. Not got as much experience as them. That could be the problem they're having, you know. They've had more experience, they want the bike perfect. With me, I've just got on the bike and rode it as best as I can.
How do you like Snets? Very fast here.
Yeah, very fast. Not many places to overtake, so I've got to make a good start. There's my gap in front, and hopefully be up to the top boys in the first corner.
All right, thanks. Best of luck to Tommy Hill. He told us about a gap. It's also a very red gap, because right up there is his teammate, and he'd love nothing more than to beat Steve Plater, who, well, at the end of the day, has been having a little bit of a tough time of the weekend. But as always, I'm sure he'll have a quick word with us. They say at Snetterton that if you haven't been in the potato field here, well, you haven't lived. That's what all the old grizzled riders say about being here.
Who are, mate? Nothing like picking your own dates.
Now, you've had a bit of a spill. How are you?
Yeah, a bit stiff, a bit ragged. I've damaged my back quite a bit, but to be honest, yesterday morning I was really struggling in qualifying, but yesterday afternoon was okay, so just hoping we can make race distance okay and be all right, yeah.
Just been talking to Tommy. A lot of changes to the bike. Things going forward, though.
Yeah, without that, you know, we tested here for a couple of hours last week, and we managed to go forward instead of round in circles, so we're quite confident, and keep plugging away and keep going forward, and then hopefully soon we can stand on the podium.
Keep going round in circles round here, mate. Stay on it. Best of luck. And let's have a quick chat with certainly the man of the moment at the moment here at Snetterton, Scotty. I don't want to preempt too much, but things so far have gone very well. Second in warm-up and qualifying very well for the Kawasaki.
Yeah, at the moment we're getting the bike better and better every time we go out on it, and we were so close at Brands Hatch that I'm just desperate to get a podium. Glenn and I have been pushing each other along all season and helping each other to develop the bike. We're close. I was so close in first qualifying to being on the front row of the grid, which I desperately wanted to do as well. But I think we've got a good race set up, and I'm just going to try my hardest to be there at the end.
I've been hanging around your family. I know how close you are. Your mum's getting nervous. Your dad's disappeared off into the field somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not nervous anymore. It's all too late to be nervous, isn't it? I was scared to death about an hour ago, but now you kind of find a bit of a calm, don't you?
How about a podium today? Do you feel confident about that?
Yeah, pretty well. So that's what I'm going out to try and do. I'll do my best. If I fail, then so be it, but I'm hoping.
Lean, mean and green, and look at that haircut. Fantastic. Best of luck to Scott Smart. Let's move up and see if we can have a word. Let's see who else is around here. Let's see if we can get to Dean Thomas, because this is, if Scott Smart's having a story this weekend, this man here, Dean Thomas, is having a superb start to his weekend. Dean, once again, great qualifying.
Yeah, we're up there again in qualifying. Yeah, we seem to be able to qualify, right? We just struggled in the races a bit in the past, but yeah, we're putting some good times on race tyres this weekend, so hopefully we've got a shot at it.
We usually come to the front row, we talk to Sean Emmett, we talk to John Reynolds, and of course Michael Rutter. We want to talk to you today. How about a win?
Well, win would be nice, win would be nice. I mean, a podium's what we're looking at. If we get a win's a bonus for me.
All right, best of luck to you. Could be very interesting. Michelin have really gone all out on their tyres. Dunlop, of course, remember last year Dunlop had problems with their tyres. They've now got a better better setup on their tyres. Of course, they've got that fatty that you heard about at Brands Hatch, but it's a real battle of the tyres and a great front row. Michael Rutter has to be favourite. Dean Thomas, though, watch out for him, and who knows what could happen from the second or third row.
And they are certainly revving these motors higher than they were at Brands Hatch at any time. They're under starter's orders now, leaning over the tank to try and keep the front wheel down as they launch, and that's a lousy start again from Michael Rutter. They haven't sorted that Honda out yet. Riorichi Kiyanari, his teammate, comes on the inside of Mike 23. Kiyanari got the Honda starting perfectly, slots in the second place nearly, but it was Emmett who slides straight across Kiyanari, and Kiyanari almost went off in the first turn. What drama that was, but look at that, what a start for the Rizla Suzuki, out front from Sean Emmett. Those two are already onto the Revit straight at the back. The two Kawasaki's mired a little bit in there as well. That's not the start Scott Smart will have wanted, but it is John Reynolds down the Revit straight in, and Eric pulls out of the slipstream. Eric comes alongside 176 miles an hour on that Ducati down into the S's. Emmett takes the lead. Well, he might have a busted finger. It's not making any difference at all. There was John Reynolds. He's cool, calm, collected, and up for this John Reynolds. He will not want to cook his tyres. Remember last year, Dunlop had a major problem here with the middle of the tyre, getting a little bit too hot with the amount of horsepower these bikes are turning out, but they have responded to that. Wow. What have we got coming up here, Neil? That was just the first few bends. I think I've lost my breath already. As we come down to Russell's, let's keep an eye on this, because this is usually a drama area here, where we get usually somebody launching their back in the bottom gear there. Hopefully they all get through safely. Emmett, bike number 5. Reynolds, bike number 2. Then it's a Sengo Ducati. Bike number 12 is Dean Thomas. Then it's Yukio Kakayama. He is a brave man. Then it's Riorichi Kiyanari on 23. And that looks like, was that Mason or Plater?
Plater.
Well, thank heavens for that, because really Yamaha do need a bit of a result. First two rounds have not been particularly good to them. Onto the back straight now, and they are laying some horsepower here, Neil.
They certainly are. Fastest part of the track coming down here, down the back straight. But Sean Emmett and John Reynolds really did get the dream start, but Michael Rutter got the opposite. He got a nightmare start. You could see him hesitating on the grid, trying to be careful with his clutch, and it really cost these Hondas the start, and of course that can just blow your whole race.
Well, Neil, I have to say I'm glad I didn't interrupt you, because I'm almost over the top of the desk here. Did you see Yukio Kakayama on the Rizla Suzuki just make a hand signal and out of the slipstream of the Sendo Ducati? Wow, that thing is really chucking some horsepower down the Suzuki. He just passed Dean Thomas, that man there on the Sendo Ducati, passed him in a straight line down the Revit straight, got a little bit of draft behind him, obviously entered onto the straight just perfectly well. We'll get to the technicalities of what you need to do around here with Neil in a little while, but really at this stage of the race it just blast away. Emmett doing it all right from the front. He seems to have allayed any fears that he had after race 1 at Brands Hatch a couple of weeks ago. He's looking very, very good.
Kiyanari was aggressive in the first lap, but he was in front of Kageyama, and being a fellow Japanese, he wanted to beat him, and you could see Kageyama charging through the field in that first lap, and did a good job to get to third place onto lap 3 here.
106 then we're into already. 105.713 was Rutter's pole time. That was a blitzer in time that he put in, but it is Rutter now. Look at the Suzuki, that Suzuki of John Reynolds, and they get, because it's a long straight, they're nearly up to 180 mile an hour down that straight. They get a hell of a slipstream. That's the dead area, the dead air that's behind the rider in front. It's a vacuum that you get sucked into, and if you time it absolutely right, you can gain 4 or 5 miles an hour and make a pass down into the S's. But like I said before, Neil will talk us through the technicalities of that. I've forgotten, it's been such a long time ago. Coram curve we're on now. And down towards the Russell chicane. It's a tricky little set of corners, and
that's where Kageyama went down in practice. He had a massive high side there, really beat him up, but the great thing was his pelvis was intact. It was a good test for that still healing pelvis there, but apart from being beaten up, he's perfectly okay. But you can see he saved himself, didn't show up for the pit lane walkabout this morning. He just wanted to rest, he just wanted to get himself psyched up and ready for this race, but he really is on form in third place there.
A hell of a way to test that your bones are joined properly, isn't it? Jump off a motorcycle at Russell chicane. Anyway, onto the Revit straight we have now. Sean Emmett. Let's have a look. This high camera really does. That's Phil Borley, chief technician on the left, and right next to him is Paul Bird, team owner of Monster Mob. Their man are out in front right now. I've actually got an absolutely accurate, from their telemetry, lap of Sean Emmett's Ducati here, and so for the first time I've been looking over the shoulder of Beanie, who Mr. Bean's been working on the computer, been giving me all the information I need from Monster Mob. And again, we will give you plenty of that throughout this race. Through Coram Curve they come now. Long right-hander, something like 125 mile an hour on this little blip down to a 50 mile an hour. Stop, 6,000 RPM. chicane, and then it's winding it right up through to 5th gear and 12,300 RPM, just to give it the exact technical side of it. 166 miles an hour, no more no less, from Sean Emmett as he breaks into a 97 miles an hour Rich's corner, this right-hander, 3rd gear now. Then it's up to 120 mile an hour short blast, holding 3rd all the way until down to 2nd gear he is now, and 85 miles an hour at this particular point on the racetrack. Then get the traction over the bumpy bit onto the Revit straight, winding it up 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th gear now, and look at that Suzuki building alongside him. Oh, John Reynolds got a great slipstream there. He entered the straight perfectly well, but Sean Emmett's having nothing of it. Lays it over Reynolds' nose. Whoa. What can I say, Neil?
Well, that's such a difficult place to pass. You can see John Reynolds getting alongside Sean Emmett. Sean Emmett had the wide line. He was over to the right-hand side of the track to break into the Russell's S's, and he didn't quite make it that time. And slipstream is so important. These bikes are equally matched in speed, but of course, if John Reynolds can get on his tail, get into slipstream, then he's got a chance of passing him. All that happened there really was it allowed Kageyama to get a little bit closer to John Reynolds. And you can see Dean Thomas, number 12 on the back of Kageyama. He's even closer now as well.
Kianari's in there in 5th place as well by 23. Then it's number 4, Steve Plater on the Yamaha, of course, and Michael Rutter still languishing down in 7th place at this moment in time. In fact, Rutter has just overtaken Plater on that run into the start and finish line, so Rutter has moved up to 6th place now. Well, he is having to work for his corn this year, that's for sure, Michael Rutter, because he gives everybody a head start, and at this level of motorcycle racing you just cannot afford to let him off the line as fast as he does. Those Hondas are brilliant motorcycles. Look at Kageyama, he gets a double slingshot there. He had Reynolds' slingshot to go with, and he also had Emmett's as well. So Kageyama, well, when you got 2 motorcycles in front, the equation is you get double the amount of wind resistance protection, and Kageyama used that to absolute perfection and slingshots his way into the front. Show John Reynolds how it should be done.
Well, yeah, like you said, though, he does have, you have at least 1.5 or twice the amount of slipstream in effect, and he just set himself not perfectly at Sears onto the back straight and got that double slingshot down the back into the front, but it has helped JR get past Emmett, so all wasn't bad for John Reynolds.
Well, now we're going to see what Sean Emmett is made of course. All 4 of these men are on Dunlop tyres that are in your front 4 until we get to Kianari in 5th place on the Michelin Shot HM Plant Honda. We're waiting to see whether that makes any difference whatsoever here at Snetterton. Last year it was a bit of a disaster, if you remember. Everybody ended up with a great strip out the middle of the tyre. It just got a little bit too hot. Kageyama, Reynolds, Emmett, Thomas, there your top 4, and they're in the screen. Kianari still 5th, Rutter making up ground on his teammate now. Plater dropped to 7th, Scott Spartan, the Hawk Kawasaki in 8th, Tommy Hill on one of the Yamahas in 9th place. As it looks like John Reynolds now grabs a whole load of slipstream off Kageyama, but being polite that he is at this point in the race, we're only on lap 7 of the 25. John will not want to work his motorcycle or his tyres too hard, because it's going to be the man that has a loaded gun at the end of this race that is actually going to shoot down the rest of the guys in front of him.
Another rider on the move is Scott Smart. He's back in 8th place at the moment, but he's right behind Steve Plater, and he's making progress, and I reckon it won't be long before he's past Steve Plater, and then on the charge, maybe up onto the Hondas.
Russell's chicane it is. What an awesome corner this used to be before they made it a chicane some years ago now. Look at that, Sean Emmett pulling himself right up over the front of the motorcycle so he can squeeze that throttle flat out. And really, all he can do at the moment is watch these 2. Oh, Kageyama on the... So difficult. These bumps going into that Rich's corner. Very difficult to line the motorcycle up. It's a double right-hander onto this squirt up towards Sear corner. A bit more runoff at Sear, so if you get it wrong, you've got a bit of room just to, well, take up that bit of room. Everyone uses that bit of extra tarmac, of course, but they don't want to start the old bike bouncing over the rough stuff, because all they get is a load of wheel spin then and cook their tyres.
Well, you can see Kageyama was in a bit tighter, but it's actually a little bit more bumpy there. JR was holding out to the left into Richie's there, but both similar speed by the time they get to mid-corner. Drop Sean Emmett a little bit here.
Yeah.
2 Ridley Suzuki's getting away a little bit at the front here.
Through the S's, this is called the bomb hole, and it really is a bomb hole as well. Not much runoff there, although they've improved it in recent years. Very difficult turn indeed. It leads out onto Coram Curve. We're on Coram Curve now, 125 mile an hour through that part of the course, then braking back down to bottom gear. Something like 50 odd miles an hour through here, maybe a little bit less for some of the boys. Emmett then back over the front of the bike. He's got the Sendo Ducati to worry about. Dean Thomas, well, the 2 Suzukis, well, Paul Denning's going to be buying beers all round if he gets a 1-2 out of his team here at Snetterton, that's for sure. They did look strong through qualifying. There are 1 or 2 problems I know from the bikes, but we won't cover that at the moment. We'll look at the positive side of things. Oh, dearie
Gary Mason.
Gary Mason is out on the Virgin Mobile Yamaha. That doesn't look like a crash, actually.
Looks
then
more
again,
like
it
a
could
breakdown.
be.
Yeah, Gary Mason way down 12th or 13th position, not having a good weekend, but unfortunately now out of the race.
Yellow flag being waved at the S's, so no passing for John Reynolds here. If you've got a waved yellow flag out there, then nobody can make a pass through the S's. Squirting it under the bridge and down towards the bomb hole. Yukio Kagayama up onto Coram Curve. This is such a long right-hander. You're accelerating through the first part, rolling it in the middle, and then acceleration out to the wide part of the track, and then straight on the brakes on the tiny little bit of straight that there is into the Russell chicane. Very difficult indeed. And then you're just waiting to get on the power. Here's Rutter. Here comes Rutter. The HM Plant Honda has been slowly but surely making his way up onto the tail of Dean Thomas. He is almost there now. Well, Rutter has to work so hard by virtue of the fact that he just doesn't quite make the starts that he would like to do. I thought Honda had brought in a new package of clutch modifications for this round at Snetterton. If they have, it hasn't worked. There are your top 6. Scott Smart is in front of Plater now on bike 88. Scott Smart, the Hawk Kawasaki. It's a great ride again from Scott. You can just see him in the background there as he comes out of our heat haze.
Rutter is the fastest man on the track and has been over the last few laps. Unfortunately, really, Kagayama's at the front here because he's the least experienced out of this bunch, and I reckon he's slowing the pace down a little bit. That's allowing Rutter to catch up.
Although Kagayama does still have the fastest lap set on lap 2, 1 minute 6.271, which might indicate that it is a bit slow now that we should be expecting the pace to have built up a little bit. So Rutter on the Michelin-shod HM Plant Honda is right there now on bike number 3. Here he is. His dad Tony is here as well, having a wander around. I spoke to him this morning. And everybody was a little bit concerned this morning because the weather had cooled very slightly, but enough to cause, a little bit concern over tyres. It does make a big difference.
Track temperature was up to 36 degrees yesterday afternoon, and that really is the hottest it's been this season so far. You see Scott Smart there, he's hanging on there. He's on his way, You can see Michael Rutter in front of him, and he's closing the gap.
Yeah.
That last lap, he did a 1:06.2, which is it's very close to Kagayama's fastest lap, so he's on the move still, and he can see Rutter in front of him.
He's got fresh air in front of him, and he's been building. Scott Smart is having the ride of the series so far, and he's had some good ones in the last 2 rounds. Still 71, Yukio Kagayama that leads on the Rizzo Suzuki with his teammate John Reynolds up behind him on bike number 2. Then it is Sean Emmett on bike 5, followed by 12. That is Dean Thomas. That's 3 in 5th place at the moment. Michael Rutter, but expecting to make a few moves on the Ducati in front very soon. And then closing in, and you can see he is a faster man than even Michael Rutter. It is Scott Smart on the 88 Hawk Kawasaki. Well, Stuart Hickins
is working so well.
But it did at Brands Hatch. Just remember, it's the least developed motorcycle out on this racetrack.
It is. It's a back to basics bike. It's pretty much out the box. I'll tell you one thing. I've been watching him more closely this weekend, and he reminds me of Steve Islam. He's real neat riding style.
Well,
these 2 guys.
That was Kagayama. He got back in front of Reynolds. Reynolds had passed him for a little while, and then Kagayama got back in front of him again and forces Reynolds out. Now, JR is not going to be too happy about that at the moment, I would suggest. JR tried to get back under him at Riches. Yeah. But fighting amongst your teammates, probably at this stage of the race.
See, the thing is, Kagayama, he's a team player, there's no question. But he knows at this time of the season, he's still got a chance to win the championship. He said if JR's away with the championship, he'll help him through the second half of the season. But it's still early in the year. He's still got a chance of winning that championship, and he has to go for it.
Well, Yukio
he is
Kagayama,
wide there, very wide there. JR made time through the bomb hole. He's underneath him at Coram.
Oh, I tell you what, this is all getting a bit too tricky for me. The 2 teammates absolutely on the Rizzo Suzuki. Paul Denning's going to be having heart failure watching these 2.
Well, this is much better for JR. It's much better for Kagayama. He should let JR get in front, settle down, and just follow him for a few laps.
That is Paul Denning, of course, that's watching the monitors.
Here comes Rutter. Rutter's up to 4.
Well, I think that's, but everyone's been tripping each other up at the front. Even Emmett almost had a passer lined up there for Yukio Kagayama. Yukio Kagayama's on 40 points compared with the 82 of John Reynolds, so well, I think Paul Denning may have to be a little bit stronger in pit lane, if indeed that's what he needs to be. And I'll take your guidance as far as that's concerned. I've heard what you said, there's plenty of time in this season, but you don't want 2 of your men going into the grass.
I think it was fairly safe. Sure, Kagayama was a little bit wide, but I think it was fairly safe. And I think, Kagayama's bike's fast. You can see him catching JR there.
Every lap, but I think Kagayama gets on the gas somehow smoother and earlier coming onto that straight. He exits Sears so well. Scott Smart up into 5th place. Scott Smart, bike 88, up past Dean Thomas on the Sendo Ducati, the number 12 bike. But 88, Scott Smart riding the wheels off of that. You said to me earlier on in the show, Neil, that you didn't expect Scott Smart to be the man emerging in front of Glenn Richards in the Hawk Kawasaki team, but he has just got better and better as his confidence has got higher and higher.
That was pre-season, but from first race at Silverstone, it's been very obvious that he has clicked with that bike, gets on well with that bike, and Glenn Richards sure has had a bit of bad luck, but Scott Smart is riding so well. He's riding as fast as any of these guys at the front, and he's catching the factory CBR 1000 RR Fireblade Honda of Michael Rutter.
This is a great race from Scott Smart in 5th place. We're looking from our overhead. This will give us a bit of an idea how Yukio gets on the gas here onto this back straight.
I reckon his bike's just faster.
Yeah, I think you're right, and he looked exactly the same. Yeah, indeed.
Even there, but watch this.
As soon as he gets that tickle in the slipstream, it really does pick up the pace. Look at that. As soon as he gets the still air behind Reynolds. Oh, here comes Rutter. Rutter up the inside limit, not quite. I'll tell you what, he aimed at that apex miles early, didn't he, Rutter?
I know one thing JR has, the difference in bikes. JR's bike's geared a little bit higher than Kageyama's, and that could bell. Once he gets into 5th and 6th gear, it struggles to push the fresh air when he's on his own, and Kageyama can just drive up his rear.
Of course, gearing being all as far as Snetterton is concerned, everyone looks at the flags to see if the wind is changing, to see whether they've got to change the gearing between races, but once they started this one, they're stuck with it. JR then, as far as your theory is concerned, will be in a better position if he's behind Yukio and needs the extra revs down the back straight in a slipstream situation.
Possibly.
Maybe. Possibly. Still it is number 2 JR that leads over the line from Yukio Kageyama, his teammate on bike 71. Then we look back to, still, it is Sean Emmett, but Emmett under severest of pressure now from Michael Rutter on bike 3, the HM plant bike. Then it's 88 Scott Smart on the green Hawk Kawasaki, and the Sendo, the Enza-based Ducati behind that, bike number 12 of Dean Thomas. That's how it goes. Behind them is a real Yamaha battle as well for 7th and 8th between Steve Blake, the official factory rider,
Rutter catching Emmett,
and Hill on the other Yamaha. Rutter underneath Emmett. Nicely done. That Honda on the back straight, everybody says, is an awesome motorcycle. It's very, very fast in a straight line indeed.
Very fast, very stable, plus it gets good grip coming through Sears onto the back straight, so he can get on the power, he can get a good drive out of there, and a good slingshot.
This is where it all starts for Michael Rutter then. Through Coram Curve now, it's Michael Rutter on lap 15. Under a lot of work to do for Michael Rutter, but you've got to say, with the way the Suzukis have been tripping each other up and the way that Michael Rutter has been cutting his way through the field, Rutter is looking the strongest. Certainly he was the pre-race favourite in a lot of people's eyes. And you can see why now.
Well, from the start he's done an incredible job, really.
Again.
He has to work.
Brands Hatch, he had to work extremely hard, just couldn't quite catch Sean Emmett in the second race at Brands Hatch. This time round it's the 2 Suzukis that are in his aim. It looks to me like Emmett's race is run. He's got a 4th place finish, and that looks all he can manage at this point in time. And we're quite a long way into the race, and he's had his opportunity at the front. He's got Scott Smart to worry about now. For the first time ever, Monster Mob Ducati might have a Hawk Kawasaki beating him up.
Well, Scott Smart's thinking about roster positions this weekend, there's no question. Looked great all the way through practice.
This is not going to do Monster Mob's retention of the championship. Remember, they're 3 times British Superbike champions. Twice, sorry, they were aiming for their 3rd with this one. In succession with different riders. They were trying to do it with a 3rd rider for this year. And really, I think Suzuki have upped their game with the big 4s. Honda have joined the fray with a full factory back, full works package on the HM plant Honda. And really, Ducati have got a lot of work to do. Oh, still, Yukio Kageyama, bike 71, in 2nd place, looks at John Reynolds.
A bit further down the field, Steve Plater in 7th, and Tommy Hill, the R6 Cup Championship winner from last year, doing another fantastic job right behind teammate Steve Plater.
You've got to say that Plater, with the injuries he's carrying off, that massive get-off the other day here, look at, you're right, Yukio's, I'll come back to that, look at Yukio Kageyama, he just blasts out in front. Now then, 28 is Paul Jones, a favourite of John Reynolds.
Oh, there's been some discussions this weekend with the Rizzler Suzuki.
Kageyama in front.
Jones, yeah.
Kageyama takes his opportunity. Kageyama's in front. Now then, I don't know whether that was Paul Jones that moved to one side. No, it wasn't, but somebody was parked on the inside. Paul Jones, oh dear me, moves over. It's, I have to say that the backmarkers are a particular pet hate of mine, but there has been a situation where the top riders have got together and they have said backmarkers should not move off their line. That was a bit of a conference that they had right at the beginning of the year. Stay on your line, don't move off your line. But of course, in some circumstances, that's the worst possible scenario for a rider. JR copped up with Paul Jones last time out at Brands Hatch at Druids Corner. It did hold him up, but the directive to the privateers has been don't move off your line.
Well, the reason for that is to keep it safe. If you're coming up on a rider, you want to know where he's going, and on the racing line is the safest place. If he moves offline, does something unexpected, that's when it gets dangerous.
Well, in that case then I take back all I might have said about Paul Jones. He's a good bloke, Paul Jones, but really when you've got this class field that are riding the very, very fastest motorcycles in the Superbike world, it's very difficult for a privateer not to be in the way at some stage during a race, of course.
Well, Paul Denning had a word with him after Brands, the original Suzuki team manager, and Paul Jones said, why doesn't JR just barge me out the way everyone else does? But JR's such a nice bloke, he doesn't want to do that, he just sits there and gets frustrated.
Well, I think of a better reason. Paul Jones weighs about 3 times the amount that JR does, so there might be a word to it. Sorry, Mr. Jones, again. I'm going to be in deep trouble when I go past his pit. So it is Yukio still leading as we get out of Russell's and onto the front straight, the centre straight. JR is in second place still on bike number 2. Then it's Michael Rutter hunting them down, but lap by lap it's getting less and less time for Michael Rutter to make his move. Rutter really does need to be in front of JR if he is going to swap places with him at the top of the championship. Remember, these two are only split by a point. 25 points for the win, 20 points for second place, 16 for third. That's where these 3 men are in at the moment. We're on lap 19 of 25. Let's take a look at that bike Rutter is on, how fast it is compared with John Reynolds' machine.
I think it's pretty evenly matched really along the back straight there. Kageyama's the one with either horsepower or the gearing advantage along there. JR reckon he'd be up for a fight today, he'd need to fight someone today. I think he was talking about Michael Rutter. It turns out Kageyama's the guy that's giving them the problems.
Oh,
Malcolm Ashley there.
Malcolm Ashley's moved over, you know, whatever the directive is, Malcolm Ashley definitely gave more room there. So Malcolm Ashley, the 34-year-old track day organiser on the Shore Gas Racing Ducati, he's looking over his shoulder and he's paying attention. You know, I think they should. When the blue flag is waved, it's as much the responsibility of the backmarker to know where everyone is behind him as it is for these guys to try and make a pass on it. It's my opinion, I have to say.
Scott Smart getting ever closer to Sean Emmett. He's right on his back wheel there.
Well, again, unfortunately, at the chicane, at the Russell chicane, it's very difficult for a backmarker to get out of the way because at some stage you are going to be on the racing line, so it's impossible in those circumstances. Still then, it is Arisa Suzuki.
Kageyama messed up
a little
there.
bit wide there. And that's given JR half an opportunity to get past him, but I have the feeling Yukio will slip into the slipstream behind him and make him look at that. He can pass at will almost.
He's pushing the turbo button now. Back in front, that's
straight
incredible.
Back on front.
There will be some discussions in this team after the race because they'll see this on TV and they can see the difference in these bikes.
Still Michael Rutter in third place on bike 3. There is Paul Denning. He's the man with a few decisions to make, I believe, at the end of this race. Who's got the fastest bikes, whether there'll be any team orders whatsoever, and Neil McKenzie, who actually does a bit of work for Rizzo Suzuki, so you should know as far as that's concerned.
You know, and one of my suggestions was to raise the gearing a little bit because JR was struggling about out of the Russell's chicane. He was, the Russell chicane there, he was struggling a little bit out of there to get on the power, and I thought maybe a little bit taller gear might be good, and he agreed with me, but they might be changing things back for race 2.
So you better not step back over in pit lane then for a moment or two. Stick with us here, we'll look after you, Neil. Through we go, Rich's corner, then on to Sear into the braking area, back down to second gear. Let's take this as an opportunity now to see how Rutter's Honda. He don't get out of that turn half as good as the Suzuki's, you know. He's just a little bit slack than especially Yukio.
Just seemed a little bit wide mid-corner, struggling to get on the power, but he can just about get JR slipstream and he makes it all back.
Well, that might have as much the way the Honda's turning in the middle of that turn as anything else, but you do need to be lined up and squirting quite hard. But at the end of the straight, certainly it stops and turns real neat at the S's. Michael Rutter I'm talking about on the HM plant Honda. But still, Yukio Kageyama, this, I tell you, we can't overemphasise just how brave this man is. He's just come back from Japan, remember, because he nipped out there to see his second daughter, Nana, that was born while he was away racing here in the UK, so he missed the birth of his second child. He went home for a little while, he came back for Snetterton, he bounced up the road on Friday, big style out of that corner he's just exited from, and really did hurt himself. He looked very sore when I saw him slumped in his chair in pit lane, but look at him now, he just ignores all pain.
He was definitely beat up, but the important bit was his pelvis was okay, so he's back on form. Just looking further down the field there, Scott Smart in 5th, Dean Thomas now in 6th, Kianari back up to 7th, Tommy Hill's past Plater, he's in 8th and Plater's in 9th, Glenn Richards in 10th, Craig Coxall, the Australian Superbike champion, he's in 11th, and James Hayden way down in 12th, not really what we expected from James Hayden.
Can I just bring your attention to Michael Rutter in 3rd place? I mean, he looks to me like he's kind of calm, cool and collected in 3rd place, but we're on lap 22 or 25. He really didn't look to me like he quite has enough to get to the shoulder of John Reynolds. He really, out of the Sear straight onto the Revit straight, on the Sear corner onto Revit straight, just didn't seem to have enough grip. And he's a bit wide there as well. He just seems to be a little bit past the apex of all these corners. Has he got tyre problems, do you think?
I don't think he's got tyre problems. I think that's his pace. He's very smooth. He's very close to the two Rizla Suzukis, but trying to get that HM Plant Honda past is a different story. Maybe he's hoping they'll mess up a little bit and maybe run each other wide, then he can pick up the pieces, but you can't really bank on that. These two guys are fast, safe riders. But Michael Rutter's very close, but unless he does something really drastic or really dramatic, it's going to be difficult for him to pass.
I just don't think he's quite got what he wants.
And he's lost a bit of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He does. In this section coming onto the back straight here, he just doesn't quite have it with him. Sean Emmett's still there in 4th place. You can see Scott Smart still in 5th place. Dean Thomas on bike 12 in 6th place. Kianari on bike 23 is 7th. 8th is now Tommy Hill in front of Glenn Richards. Plater, no doubt, because in fact Plater's out. He's dropping down the board. Steve Plater, I'm sure, is out on the Virgin Mobile Yamaha. We definitely have a problem with Steve Plater. Oh, Plater down again that looks to me like Russell chicane. Well, Steve Plater is in the wars here, and here we see why. Oh, he's T-boned.
Craig Coxall. Oh, nasty.
Yeah, that was nasty. So Craig Coxall on the V-Trans Honda, and Plater is up on his feet, but he is carrying injuries from the weekend anyway. His back is bruised as hell. He fell off on the fastest part of the front straight here when he went for the front brake and really lost the bike in a straight line. So Steve Plater out. It was Craig Coxall that T-boned him. Incidentally, Gerrit Tenkata is here as well, looking after the V-Trans Hondas for both Supersport and that man Craig Coxall that's just gone out. So Gerrit Tenkata, the engine tuner himself from Holland, is here today. Meanwhile,
too bad for Craig Coxall, doing a good job this weekend and looking good. Rutter's further behind Reynolds. Yeah. It really struggles at Sears.
No, I just think that it looks to me like it's running on at the front end. I don't think they've got it quite pinned to the floor quite as much. I mean, it's a complete guess from where we're sat here at the moment, but he's wide of the apex on some of the crucial corners where you need to get it pulled back down.
Sean Emmett can see a podium position. He's a bit closer to Michael Rutter there.
But Sean Emmett is carrying that left hand, really his ring finger on his left hand, the clutch hand. There is Neil Tuxworth, team coordinator for HM Plant Honda. Sitting alongside him was Tadayuki Okada. That's Honda HRC Racing Team Management as well. They're keeping an eye on Michael Rutter, and they will not be happy to see the GXXR 1000 Suzukis in front of the brand new Honda Fireblade. That is the 1000cc Honda Fireblade that they really have pinned all their racing hopes on.
Last lap now, all these guys have to do is keep it together.
Well, Yukio Kagayama, I hate to bring you to, of course, the Think Rider of the Day situation. Oh, look at that, 106.070. It did belong, of course, to Yukio Kagayama a moment ago with the fastest lap. Maybe JR is homing in on him on this final lap. But what I'm going to say here, Neil, I know you're slightly embarrassed when you vote for a team you work for occasionally, but Yukio Kagayama, with all the injuries and the crash he's had here, has surely got to be shortlisted for your Rider of the Day, along with Scott Smart, as far as I'm concerned at the moment.
Well, Kagayama, just the fact he made the beginning of this season is an achievement in itself, but to come to the third race into the season, he's been on the podium already, to come and win at a track he really struggled at last year, turned it completely around, and after having a massive crash in practice.
Through Coram then for the last time. Coram curve. It is Yukio Kagayama on the Rizla Suzuki. John Reynolds powers around the outside. But unless Yukio Kagayama makes a mistake here, it's going to be Yukio Kagayama that's going to squirt the power first. Up the straight. John Reynolds is going to finish in 2nd place. That'll keep him on top of the championship table, of course. And Michael Rutter finishes what must be a disappointing 3rd for him. He was indeed. Kagayama then from his teammate John Reynolds on the Suzukis. Michael Rutter did all he could after a poor start to bring the Honda into 3rd place, but just couldn't make any more inroads into Reynolds and Kagayama. Sean Emmett, well, he led for a while and slipped to 4th place. Not going to be happy with that. Scott Smart, another great ride from him on the Hawk Kawasaki in 5th. Dean Thomas, well, after such promising qualifying, slipping to 6th. They'll be looking at what to do about that machine. Ryuichi Kianari, the other HM Plant Honda, is in 7th place. And Tommy Hill, the best of the Yamahas, the R6 Cup graduate from last year, 8th place for him. What a ride in front of Glenn Richards on the other Hawk Kawasaki in 9th. James Hayden, he's not been in British Championship racing for some time, and now he realises just how fast it is. He finishes in 10th place. James Ellison in 11th place. Dennis Hobbs in 12th. Sam Cork, James Buckingham and Chris Martin rounding out the top 15. Let's take a look after Snetterton. It is Reynolds on 102 points now, 5 points in front of Michael Rutter. Ryuichi Kianari 69. Yukio Kagayama though closing in. Emmett drops down to 5th place. Scott Smart, Dean Thomas and Tommy Hill